Americans of Reddit. What places in America should foreigners avoid at all costs? If you go to a national park and you disregard the signs, you're going to die. It's not a joke. Treat buffalo like field puppies. You're going to die. Try to pet the brown bear. You're going to die. See that moose and want to feed it. You're probably already dead. Oh, look, a rattlesnake. Dead. Want to swim in Old Faithful. You're going to die painfully and completely dissolve into a soup. Shit is dangerous here, and if you don't respect it, you'll be lucky to die quick. Yet somehow Australia has a reputation for wildlife. That'll kill you. The deserts of the Southwest. Unless you're prepared for it and understand the dangers of that environment, it isn't uncommon for us to get folks from Europe, typically Germany, for some reason, who decide to go hiking at the worst times of the day without enough water. Some of them die. It's really easy to get dehydrated and possibly die even in safe areas, and the danger can sneak up on you. I would say, if you're not used to extreme heat, do not visit the Southwest US during the summer. During one visit, granted it was August, but it averaged 115 to 120 F during the day and cooled off to about 95 F at night. The "oh but it's a dry heat" is a joke that most people don't get. Think of the dry heat when you open the oven door and stick your face near it. That's what it's like. Avoid swimming in Lake Superior. People read the name lake and get excited. What they don't realize is they're Great Lakes inland freshwater seas. It's cold AF, and it can be fatal. Edit. To many people missing the point here. I know that are some decent beaches around LS where you can go and swim and do stuff. I was talking about the lake as a whole, for those who can swim in it. It's good. I have been fortunate enough to have swum in it a few times. However, my point is that the Great Lakes in general are a powerful entity, and unlike your regular lakes, moreover, except for a couple of months, the weather can be erratic and can change multiple times in a day. So, if someone's planning to swim, they need to be careful. It's great that if you can swim there all the time, doesn't mean everyone should. It's general advice, not a specific one. People often think the Great Lakes are just larger lakes they find in their respective countries or states. No. The Great Lakes have the environment of the North Atlantic if they had fresh water. In my state of Minnesota, it is not recommended to travel the lake in anything less than a trawler. It's not uncommon to experience turbulent weather, icebergs, or rogue waves on Lake Superior. The entire city of Duluth is more akin to a major ocean port than an industrial center. There is a huge sailing tradition in Duluth because the lake demands fear and respect. Thousands of sailors have been lost, and thousands of ships rest on the bottom of just Lake Superior. Swimming or sailing on the lake is not for the faint of heart. Northern WI, because that's where I live and I don't like people. Likewise, even though tourists are how we survive the winter, we eat them, can't live with them, can't live without them. I see no one has said it, so I'm going to Hollywood. Hollywood has a single block of its area that's actually worth a visit. It's the one with the Chinese theater, but the rest of the city is the complete opposite of the rose-tinted glass view it shows itself as. It's not even the fact it's crowded, that's the issue really, but it is a root issue to it's filthy. There's not only garbage everywhere, but it's never clean. You could make a game out of how much vomit, piss, booze, and cum stains there are. The people are scary, not just the homeless people, who are in a depressingly large number, but people, in general, seem to have a screw loose. There are also a lot of entrepreneurs trying to sell their businesses, and they aren't afraid to be in your face about it. Don't expect any decent eating either, unless you bleed gold and crap diamonds, and make reservations a month in advance. There's no food to be had here. Overall, it's just not worth the visit. Do you want to see an entertainment capital worth your time? Visit Universal Studios theme park. Now, there's an actual good time to be had. Edit. I am talking about Hollywood Boulevard specifically. Yeah, I could see this if you're from out of town and your only experience is shuffling around Hollywood Boulevard staring at stars covered in piss in the Times Square of LA. Any locals will tell you that section of Hollywood Boulevard is the one place not to visit. Go hiking in Griffith Park or a stroll through old Hollywoodland. In Beechwood Canyon instead is my recommendation. If you were going to visit the Chinese theater, book a reservation at Musso and Frank's, which is not that hard, and see an actual movie in the main room of the Chinese theater, which is pretty beautiful. Don't hike into the wilderness of Colorado, especially 14ers, without knowing wilderness survival and responsibilities. Tourists die on our mountains and in Rocky Mountain National Park all the time. Do your research. Altitude is no joke. I 100% agree. My uncle has a place in the Sangre de Cristos in Colorado, and every time we go there, the altitude knocks me on my butt for a full day. I never thought about places being at higher altitudes and screwing people over. I live in Australia, and it's generally fairly flat. Such a weird thought. It's not places as much as situations that you should avoid. Depending on where you're from, you'll have some of these instincts, but not others. It's not all or nothing, but here are some situations I can see happening to a European. As an example, getting stranded in the desert. Whether you're hiking without water or driving too far on a single tank of gas, there's a real risk of being stranded without very immediate help and no cell reception. Underestimating travel time. You're not going to see NYC and LA on the same trip. They're 3 time zones apart. They are exactly as far apart as London, England, and Baku, Azerbaijan. You'll either be driving for a week or flying. Even things that seem close, like NYC and DC, are not actually that close. It would be about 6 hours of driving, or train to get from one to the other. Trespassing. It is taken very seriously here, and you could wind up shot if you are on the wrong person's land. We do not have the right to roam, and we do have the right to bear arms. Some states even have castle laws which consider trespassing to be sufficient reason to shoot someone in self-defense. Any places people are mentioning are places that Americans wouldn't go to either if they could help it. But if I can say one place in particular, it would be Camden, NJ. It's just across the river from Philadelphia and has a couple of tourist draws like the aquarium or the concert venue, but anywhere that's not those specific places is incredibly unsafe. Area 51 seems the obvious answer. You can just Naruto run past their defenses. Times Square. As a native New Yorker, I highly recommend going to Chelsea, the Village, or anywhere in Central Park over this overrated monstrosity dedicated to capitalism. Times Square is a good international visit. It's in the movies. It is impressive, as far as just taking in some sights. It's great for tourists. Easy to get there, check it out, and leave. It's an iconic locale, and has been since well before it became the mega touristy, much safer place it is today. Death Valley in the summer, especially if you consider yourself a strong hiker and live in a cooler climate. It has that name for a reason. Downtown Albuquerque at night. So many cracked out homeless dudes getting in your personal space. I told my wife to wait in the car while I stood in front of the taco truck. One guy tried to start a fight with me because I wouldn't lower my window to talk to him while I was at the McDonald's drive-thru. I'm used to NYC where the beggars ask you for money while leaning against a wall or something. In downtown Albuquerque, it's like they own the streets and the roads. Honestly, just lock your car doors at all times around ABQ. Used to have people just come and try to open your door at stoplights when I lived there. Watching yourself around the South Valley at night couldn't hurt either. There was a man who was shot and killed over his Jeep at an AutoZone 5 minutes from my house. Not to mention the West Mesa is a great place to disappear. Anywhere with a rainforest cafe and a wax museum on the same street is a tourist trap. In Alaska, please don't go close to the wildlife. The bears will kill you, along with the moose. Just no period. I've seen so many tourists get attacked by bears and moose. It ain't pretty. Most of downtown Los Angeles at night, when the streets get quiet and the locals go home, that's your cue to go back to your hotel or a more popular hotspot. Edit, I should have said populated. I've never seen the center of such a major city empty out so bloody fast and look like the Walking Dead in a matter of a few hours. It was fascinating to see. Avoid going to one location, thinking another location across the country is a short trip. I used to work at a hotel, and tourists would tell me all the time about their one-week vacation plans that involved a road trip from NYC to Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon, and LA. Great. If you don't hit traffic, you'll have 5 minutes at each one of those places. Gas station sushi. No matter how fresh they say it is, never, ever eat it. Avoid large chain restaurants. The best food in America comes from small owner-operated businesses. The hot springs in Yellowstone are not hot tubs. Do not swim in them. When I was 12, I camped at Yellowstone with my family. On the first day there, I spent almost $20, an insane amount of money from me at the time, but I had to have it on a book called Death in Yellowstone. Read about people being mauled by bears and gored by bison. But what I remember most is the death of a guy who walked off the walkway and fell into a hot spring. When onlookers tried to pull him out, the skin of his hands just sloughed off and he fell back in and boiled to death in front of a bunch of strange tourists. Bogus. It probably worked in scaring you into being very careful. Around the hot springs law, avoided the park, a lot of lawsuits. Visiting the US. Beware of certain places. National parks can be perilous. Follow rules. Extreme heat in the southwest. Be prepared. Avoid gas station sushi. Try local eateries. Share your travel tips below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Stay safe on your journey.